I've discovered over the last 8 years that being a step-parent isn't easy. For example, I have no problem telling my adult daughter when I think she has made a mistake. As her father, I have both the right and the obligation to do so. But I hesitate to do the same with my stepchildren. And as far as my step-grandchildren go, I am very careful when I correct them for doing something I think is inappropriate. I walk a very fine line, and it is sometimes uncomfortable. So when it came to my attention that my stepdaughter-in-law might be cheating on her husband, I was in a quandary. My name is Patrick, Pat Hansen. My wife, Jenny, and I have been married for 8 years. It is a second marriage for both of us. Our relationship, however, goes back over 30 years. We dated for a few months in high school before going our separate ways. We got back together 10 years ago. I had been married for 18 years when my wife and I separated. It wasn't because one of us cheated, our finances, or our love lives. It was because of a fence around our swimming pool. Well, in all honesty, the disagreement about the fence was just the last straw in a huge bale of straw. Over the years, our relationship had changed, and we, us and our, had become me, mine and I, for both of us. So we decided to call it quits. Our daughter handled the divorce as well as could be expected and accepted, having 2 houses which gradually became 2 homes. She likes her stepfather and treats him with respect and affection, likewise with my wife, her stepmother. Jenny's son and daughter feel the same about me. At least I think they do. My daughter once asked Jenny why we quit dating in high school. Because I wouldn't put out and Nancy did. My daughter absolutely howled. My first wife and I were separated, and the divorce was still a few weeks away. I was online looking for one thing, and something completely unrelated to my original search appeared and reminded me of the Jenny I knew so long ago. So I typed her name. I didn't know her married name, or even if she was married, so I typed her maiden name. Up popped her name with her husband's obituary. The obituary even had her telephone number in it, which I thought was unusual, so I called her, and the rest, as they say, is history. I am the director of safety for a large trucking company. We moved to New Orleans 5 years ago to take the job. My work is difficult, but fortunately keeps me close to home. Jenny spends her time sitting on several boards for charities around the area. We are not wealthy by any stretch of the imagination, but we can do just about anything we want to do. Her late husband's investments helped see to that. My daughter is single and lives in Cincinnati, Ohio, where she and her mother own a relatively successful gift shop. Jenny's daughter lives in Estes Park, Colorado, with her husband, who is a park ranger, and their 2 children. Her son, Tyson, Ty for short, lives with his wife of 5 years in Memphis, where he is a manager for a package delivery service. Ty's wife, Lauren, is a dental assistant and works for one of the area's most popular dentists. They have a 4-year-old daughter named Madge. Jenny and I don't get to see our children nearly often enough, maybe once or twice a year for a few days. In the past couple of years, we have seen Ty, Lauren, and Madge more often than that. It is about a 6-hour drive from Memphis, and he seems to have lots of 3-day weekends, so they drive down every few months. Mardi Gras is a good time for them to come, and Madge loves to yell, "Throw me something, mister," while watching the parades. She has enough beads to buy Manhattan Island all over again. But for the last year or so, only Ty and Madge made the trip. Lauren always seemed too busy. It was the same thing last summer. Jenny and I took all of the children on a cruise. Everyone made it but Lauren. "She couldn't get off work," said Ty. Another time, Jenny and I were to meet them, as well as my daughter in New York City. But Lauren, again, was unable to be there. It was a busy week, and she felt guilty about taking off. What was the excuse Ty gave? "I'm beginning to think she doesn't like us." "It's not that, Pat. I guess she feels like she needs to be close to work in case an emergency pops up." When your job becomes more important than your family, it might be time to find another job. We never talked about it again, and I never felt close enough to him to really discuss his personal life, and I have certainly not discussed it with Jenny, but I had begun to have some concerns about their marriage. Now what, if anything, should I do about those concerns? I decided to do nothing for the time being. 4 months ago, One of the trucking associations my company is a member of was hosting a seminar in Nashville. My boss decided that it would be a good idea for us to be represented, so I made arrangements for my assistant to go. 2 days before the seminar was to start, her husband had emergency gallbladder surgery and she couldn't go, so I went. That sounds funny. Emergency gallbladder surgery. But I understand that it isn't very funny to the patient. Jenny thought it would be a good time for her to visit her daughter in Colorado, and I agreed. The seminar was over on Friday afternoon, and several of us were going to have dinner and socialize for the evening. We were able to get a table at a very nice steakhouse, and their Wagyu strip and creamed spinach were perfect. My flight didn't leave until noon the next day, so I was in no hurry to leave the steakhouse. Besides, the Hilton was only a couple of minutes away, so I decided to have another drink and call Jenny. My gin and tonic had just arrived, and I was ready to hit Jenny's number on speed dial when I saw a couple being escorted to a table not too far from my own. I watched as the waiter held the chair for the lady, and she sat. I have no idea how women can sit when their dresses are so tight they can hardly breathe, much less move. It always seemed to me that the dress would rip at the seams whenever the wearer would bend and try to sit. That was the case here. How she was able to sit amazed me. And how one little string kept the top of the dress from falling down also amazed me. Spaghetti strap, I think it's called. Then I watched as the gentleman with her reached across the table and took her hands. I couldn't hear what they were saying, but it must have been funny because she laughed at virtually everything he said. I took a couple of sips of my drink, but couldn't concentrate on it. They ordered wine, then dinner. I sat and watched. The waitstaff kept checking on me to see if I needed anything and kept hinting that they could use my table. The couple was about halfway through their dinner when I decided to leave. I paid my check and stepped outside and asked the doorman to get me a cab. He signaled and one appeared as if by magic. I would like for you get in a position to see everybody who comes out of the restaurant. I want to be able to follow them whichever direction they go. Can you do that? Sure can, but I have to keep the meter running while we wait, he replied. That's okay. There was an alley across the street and he parked in there. And we sat. And we watched. It was about 9:30 and I took out my phone. It was 8:30 in Colorado, still early enough to call Jenny. Hi, sweetie, how's Nashville? I asked. Not bad. I'm glad the seminar is over. I was thinking about swinging through Memphis tomorrow and having dinner with the kids and then getting home on Sunday. What do you think? I think it's nice that you would want to do that, but not tomorrow. Ty and Madge decided to come out here for the weekend because Lauren and some of the people she works with are helping move their offices. We talked for about 15 more minutes and hung up. We sat there and waited. The driver was playing a game on his phone when the couple came out. That's them, I told the driver and pointed. They stood there for less than a minute, and a black limo stopped. They got in. We followed, and I wrote down the license plate number. They didn't go far. As a matter of fact, they went to my hotel. They got out and walked in. I paid my driver and followed. I was in the lobby in time to see them get into an elevator and watched as it stopped on the same floor my room was on. I went back out to the doorman. Who was that couple in the limo? Anybody famous? Not that I know of, he replied. I took out my wallet and reached a $100 bill out to him. Could you find out? Not for that, I can't, he said, indicating the bill. I peeled off another one, waited, then another. I started to put all of them back in my wallet, and he reached for them. Be right back, he answered. He was gone for about 5 minutes and handed me a piece of paper. I walked inside and stepped into the elevator before looking at the paper. Mr. and Mrs. Dominic Lafazzo, room 912. I stepped off the elevator. Room 912 was to the left. I turned right to 936, which was my room. I stood at the window and looked out and wondered what Lauren was doing right now in room 912. I hadn't been sure when I first saw them walk in, but the more I watched them and the more I looked at her, the more my doubts faded. It was her, and it answered some of the questions I had been having recently. I went to the minibar and made myself a gin and tonic. I opened my phone and looked up private investigators in Nashville. There were a lot of them. I looked until I saw one which said, "Call 24 hours." So I did. Less than an hour later, I opened my door to a middle-aged couple who introduced themselves as the investigators, and I asked them in. They turned down my offer of a drink, so we talked. I told them I wanted to know everything I could find out about Dominic Lafazzo. I told them the room number and gave them the limo license plate number. Then we talked about money. "When would you like us to start?" "Right now, too soon?" I handed them a credit card. They took down the information they needed and left. I had planned to go home tomorrow but made up my mind to stay until Sunday. I went to bed and tried to sleep. I spent most of the next morning sitting in the lobby trying not to be noticed. While I sat there, I changed my flight to Sunday afternoon. Shortly before noon, they stepped off the elevator, walked outside, and got in the limo. I walked down the street, ate lunch, and was back sitting in the lobby when they walked in 5 hours later and got in the elevator. I sat there the rest of the day but never saw them again. The next morning, I received a call from one of the investigators while I was on my way to the airport. She wanted to update me. We met at the airport and she handed me the envelope. "There is some information on Mr. Lafazzo. There are also pictures and a video. The pictures are pretty tame, but the video is not. The same doorman you paid to get Lafazzo's name helped us get into their room yesterday while they were gone so we could plant our equipment. We figured if he took your bribe, he might take ours. And he did. He was able to get us the room next to Lafazzo so we could monitor and record what went on. The doorman's pretty sleazy and actually wanted a copy of the video for his own viewing pleasure. We have been in this business a long time, and this is the first time we were able to get into a Hilton room, so actually we considered ourselves lucky. The limo is a regular for hire car. Nothing more than an expensive cab. We have contacts all over town who help us gather information. Luckily, the limo driver is one of those contacts, so most of the pictures are from him when they were in his car yesterday. The info on Lafazzo is far from complete. He's from Memphis and comes here every couple of months and always brings a girl with him. The girl he has this weekend has been with him a couple of other times. We will get information on her and get it to you. Don't bother about her. I would, however, like for you to keep an eye on him. Stay with him the next time he comes to town and let me know, I replied. Will do. He always asks for the same driver, so that should be easy. We talked for a few more minutes before I had to get through security. I was a bit concerned about going through security with the video. I was hoping they wouldn't choose me for secondary screening and find an adult video on me. I resisted every urge to open the envelope, but I didn't want anybody looking over my shoulder. I was home by 6. 1 minute later, I opened the envelope. Apparently, there is a network of investigators who provide information to each other. When my investigators talked to their limo driver contact, they found out Lafazzo was from Memphis, so they called their contact there, who was only too happy to give them the lowdown on him. Dominic Lafazzo was a dentist, married with 4 children. He was well known as a philanderer but was very selective. He and 4 other men in Memphis were in a club, a Have Intimacy a Lot club. Their rules were simple: intimate early and intimate often. The women they had affairs with had to be married, so they would have as much to lose as the men if they were caught, and the men always had to have more than one woman. Not at the same time, but they always had to have more than one they could call on for intimacy. Lafazzo currently had at least 2 women he had affairs on a regular basis. He apparently took every opportunity to mess around, but preferred going to Nashville to do it. He used the excuses of dental seminars and fraternity brothers' golfing outings to explain being out of town so frequently. I took a short break. This guy pursued intimacy purely for pleasure. My first thought was that he was a slime ball. But then I thought, who doesn't have intimacy for pleasure? Humans are the only animals who do that, at least as far as we know. But he was married, and the women he had an affair with were married, and one of them was my stepdaughter-in-law. I picked up the pictures, some kissing in the back seat. an exposed chest, relatively tame, but still enough to start any normal husband for divorce court. Then I watched the video. It was after they came back to the hotel yesterday afternoon that the investigators had planted their equipment. They walked into the room. Lauren went to the window and opened the drapes as far as they would go. Then she turned on the radio to a country station. Jenny and I like country music and had often heard Ty and Lauren laugh at us for it. Neither of them liked it, so I was surprised when she started swaying to it. LaFazo had taken off his jacket and was sitting on the edge of the bed taking off his shoes. She knelt on her knees and helped him with his shoes. "Wanna love me now?" she asked. "I need a shower. After you dragging me all over town, I'm all sweaty." "Okay, I'll join you in a minute. I should call Ty." She sat in a chair by the desk. "Jesus Christ, you call him 6 times a day." "I have to keep him happy. And dumb," she replied. "Hi, sweetie. Sure, I'm fine. And you? How's Madge?" "Good. What am I doing?" "We have just finished eating. I had a hot dog. As a matter of fact, I still have the taste of it in my mouth." And so it went until LaFazo came out of the shower still drying himself. He walked up to Lauren and abruptly placed himself in her mouth mid-sentence. She paused for a couple of seconds before turning her head and letting him slip out. "Sorry, sweetie, I can't get the taste of that hot dog out of my mouth. I really like it." They chatted for a couple more minutes before she said goodbye. LaFazo had been standing there while she talked to Ty. After she ended the call, she turned, looked up at him, smiled, and got ready for love. At one point, they were resting and decided they were hungry, so they called room service. "So are you going to give him a treat when he comes?" "I don't know. The last one liked it, didn't he?" she asked. "Hell yeah, he liked it. Who wouldn't? You opened the door not wearing anything." They discussed the pros and cons of her exposing herself to the delivery person. When the knock came, LaFazo went into the bathroom, partially closed the door, and peeked out as Lauren strolled over to the door. She winked at him and opened the door. The young man paid no attention to her as he put the tray down on the table and checked everything off his list, ensuring that what they ordered was there. He then walked to the door, opened it, and left. LaFazo came out of the bathroom and they looked at each other stunned, then started laughing. "Maybe it would have been more effective if you had done it," Lauren said as she gave him a gentle tug. The rest of the video was more of the same. At some point, I stopped looking at her as a beautiful woman and returned to see her as my stepson's wife, the mother of his daughter and the woman who talked to her husband on the phone while being with another man. She wasn't so attractive anymore. My phone rang. It was Jenny. "Hi. We just landed and I'll be home soon. Have you eaten?" "I'm not very hungry. I'll just have a peanut butter sandwich." "Sounds good to me. See you soon." I put everything back in the envelope and put it in my car. When Jenny and I have been away from each other, we like to just sit and be close for a while. That evening, we sat on the sofa and chatted about our respective weeks. There was a lull in our conversation. 2 times she started to say something but stopped herself. I didn't push her. Later in bed, we made love, slowly and gently like we usually do, and I was in love with my wife all over again. On Tuesday, I received a call from my Nashville investigators. "Mr. Hansen, we know you told us not to bother about the woman LaFazo was with in Nashville, but we have some information anyway. One of our investigators was watching Sunday morning as he and the woman left the hotel. He got in the limo, but she got in a car the valet had brought. We took her license plate number and checked it out. The car is registered to a Tyson Wagner in Memphis. He is married to Lauren Wagner. And get this, she works for LaFazo. We have been trying to figure out why they traveled separately and came to the conclusion that they just didn't want to take a chance on being seen." "Okay. Thank you for the update. I'm going to call your Memphis contact and ask him to keep an eye on both of them." "We've already talked to him. He has your name and number and will be in touch." The rest of the week was comparatively normal if you factor out the fact that I still felt that Jenny had something to tell me, but was hesitating. Finally, on Thursday evening, she opened up. We were in bed reading when she started. "I think Ty and Lauren are having problems." "Why do you think that? Did he say anything last weekend?" I asked. "Not directly. He did say that he had offered to help her and the office staff move, but she was quick to say that they wanted to do it themselves and that it would be a good opportunity for him to visit his sister." "Is that all?" I asked. "It's just that she never wants to go anywhere with him and Madge. She keeps saying she wants to stay home." "Nothing wrong with that," I replied. "No, but remember 3 months ago when he and Madge came here? Lauren couldn't come because she was going to train a new employee, and her boss preferred the training be done over the weekend and not when patients were there. Well, the day before he drove down here, he had her car serviced and cleaned. The day after he got home, he noticed that one of her tires was low on air, so before he went to work, he took it to put air in the tire. While he was airing the tire, he noticed that the car was dirtier than it should have been after just having been washed, and there were a couple of fast food bags in it. The only time Lauren eats that junk is when they are traveling. So he looked at the mileage and compared it to the invoice from when he had it serviced, and it had gone over 500 miles. That's strange, especially since she was supposed to be working all weekend. Did he ask her about it?" "No," she replied. "Why not?" I pressed. "He was afraid too. He honestly doesn't know if he wants to know." She hesitated. "That's not all. He called me Monday morning. He and Madge got home late Sunday from our trip to Colorado, and Lauren was in the living room with a glass of wine. She told him she had just taken a bath because she was sweaty from working all day helping move the office. He got her dirty clothes from the hamper in the bathroom and took them to the laundry room with the clothes he and Madge had taken to Colorado. He was going to wash them, and as he was sorting through them, he didn't find anything that resembled what she might normally wear when moving office furniture. No jeans or shirts, just skirts, blouses, and dresses. "Why didn't you tell me this when he called?" I asked. "He asked me not to. You had voiced concern about her not traveling with them before, and he didn't want to add fuel to the fire." "Does he have any idea what might be going on and what he might do about it?" I asked. "No to both. Again, he's not sure he wants to know." "Well, he has to do something." I was on the verge of telling her what I knew but chose not to. After listening to Jenny, I decided to talk to Lauren personally and tell her what I knew, then see what happens. Jenny and I talked for a few more minutes before going to sleep. She and Ty talked several times over the next couple of weeks. He decided to give Lauren some time and see what would happen. Jenny told him not to give her too much time. I had also been talking to the Memphis investigators. Apparently, LaFazzo had made another trip to Nashville with another woman. She was the wife of the mayor of one of the small towns around Memphis. The investigators in Nashville were able to get videos thanks to the Hilton doorman again. Apparently, he asked for a copy of that video as he had asked for Lauren's. He told the investigators that he would not cooperate anymore unless he received a copy of everything they made going forward. I also talked to my boss and told him that I would probably be taking a Friday off in the near future. From what Jenny told me, there was some progress on the Ty and Lauren front. Things seemed to be getting better. Maybe so, I thought. But wait until it's her turn for Nashville. That happened all too soon. The following week, Ty called Jenny and told her that Lauren was chosen to attend a conference in St. Louis the next weekend. Her boss was paying for it. She was happy and he was proud of her. I told my boss and I was cleared to be off on Friday. I also told Jenny that I would be in Nashville for the weekend. She assumed it was for business, and I didn't tell her differently. Since Lauren is going to be gone over the weekend, why don't you see if Ty and Madge can come down? Good idea. I'll call him now. On Friday morning, I flew to Nashville and was met by my investigators. Ty and Madge flew, courtesy of Jenny and me, to New Orleans. "Welcome back, Mr. Hansen. Everything is ready for you. They arrived at the hotel about 2 hours ago and have been making love since. We made a deal with our favorite doorman and our cameras are rolling. He won't get copies of anything we video, but he will get more money." "Good. Let's get to my room." "Yes, sir." We sat in my room for the next several hours. I started watching the live broadcast from the room next door, but stopped after only a few minutes. Finally, late in the afternoon, LaFazo and Lauren left to go eat. As soon as they left, my investigators retrieved their equipment from LaFazo's room, and I called Lauren. They had been out of the room for less than 15 minutes. "Hello, Pat. What's up?" "I am Lauren. I'm up on the 8th floor of the Hilton in room 837. You need to come and talk to me. You shouldn't have any trouble finding it. It's right next to 835, the room you were in while you were loving Dominic LaFazo. Be here in 15 minutes. I ended the call. The video was loaded on my computer, and I was alone in the room 16 minutes later when she knocked. I opened the door. Both of them were standing there. I stood aside as she stepped into the room. He started to enter as well. I shoved him back and closed the door. I turned to Lauren and just looked at her. "What happens now?" she asked. "That's up to you." "What do you mean?" she asked. "You can either walk out of this room and out of Ty and Madge's life, or I can show him the video of you and that jerk." "Video?" she questioned. I walked to my computer and pushed a button. It immediately showed Lauren on her back with LaFazo with her. She reached to stop it, but I grabbed her hand. It continued. She reached again to stop it. I let her. She slumped on a chair and looked up at me. "I can't just walk away. I have to talk to Ty." "Why didn't you talk to him before you decided to cheat?" Silence. "Ty and Madge are at my house. You go back to Memphis right now. Pack your stuff and leave. You write Ty a letter telling him you don't want to be married anymore. You don't talk to him or Madge, and you don't look back." "Don't I even get a chance to apologize?" she asked. "No," I roared. "I can't leave Madge. I won't leave her. Maybe, Pat, maybe Ty and I can work through this. I'll stop. I'll be a good wife. I'll never cheat again." "Could you do that, Lauren? Could you be a faithful wife? The last time you were here, I watched as made love to LaFazo, and then talked to your husband and joked about loving the taste of the hot dog you just ate. You humiliated him and you laughed about it. If you just walk away, I'll never tell him about you and LaFazo, and he will think you just didn't want to be married anymore. But if you fight me on this, I will make sure everyone you know sees the videos." "Oh my God, you saw that?" she asked. "Yes." For the first time since she came into the room, she started crying. "I'm sorry, Pat. I'm so sorry." We sat in silence. Her phone was in her purse and we heard it ring. She looked at me. I nodded. She opened the purse, took out her phone and spoke. "Go home, Dominic. It's over." The phone dropped back into her purse. "I'll do it, Pat, but I need money." "Ty will be home Monday afternoon. That will give you time to get half of the money out of your accounts. Your car is paid for, isn't it?" "Yes," she replied. "Is it in your name?" I asked. "Yes," she answered. "Then you should have no problem. You'll have money, your personal possessions, and transportation. Ty will never know you cheated on him, and Madge will soon forget you ever existed." She got up and started to leave. "Are your car keys in your purse?" "Yes," she replied. "Go straight to your car and leave. Don't go back to that jerk or the room. Understand?" She nodded and walked out of the room. I packed and headed for the airport. I was back in New Orleans, in my car, and almost home when my phone rang. I saw who was calling. "What do you want, Lauren?" "I won't do it, Pat. I won't leave without talking to Ty, and I can't. No, I won't leave my daughter. The worst that can happen to me is that he will divorce me. But I will still be able to see Madge. I won't give that up. You can tell whoever you want, but I'm not leaving until I talk to Ty." "What if I give copies of the videos to your family and friends? Are you willing to endure the ridicule and scorn from them? They will shun you, you know. They will laugh at you and call you an unfaithful spouse and other things. Will talking to Ty and being able to see Madge be worth it?" "Madge is my daughter. She may hate me for a while, but sooner or later she will forgive me and love me again." "What about Ty?" I asked. "I don't know. He may always hate me and never love me, But I have to tell him that what I did was not his fault, that he did nothing to deserve it. It was my desire for intimacy and the opportunities Dominic Lafazzo offered for intimacy that led me to do it. Are you sure you're doing it for him and not for you? It sounds to me like you want to tell him more to salve your conscience than to convince him he did no wrong. No, Pat, no. It may sound like that, but it's not what I meant. Let me think about this. I'll get back to you, I replied. I pulled into a park near my house and sat there for over an hour thinking. I called Lauren. Yes, Pat. You have 1 week, I answered. Jenny, Ty, and Madge were having grilled hot dogs when I walked out on the deck. Jenny and Madge hugged and kissed me. Ty shook my hand and offered me a hot dog. I declined, telling him that I had recently learned to hate them and would probably never eat another one. We spent a pleasant evening together. Jenny put Madge to bed and went herself. Ty and I had some port and chatted. After a couple of glasses, I heard, "Pat, may I ask you a personal question?" "Of course," I replied. "Why did you divorce your first wife?" The short answer is we just grew apart. During the first years of our marriage, we did everything together and wanted the same things, and we had our daughter, Barbara. Over the years, we just grew apart. I learned to like country music, for example, and she leaned toward classical. She wanted to go to the theater, and I wanted to watch television. I liked to work with wood, and she hated sawdust, and on and on and on. When we were first married, everything was, "We will do this," or "our vacation," and the two of us. But over the years, it became, "I want to do this," or "my vacation," or "I want to do it for me." One morning, we both woke up, shook hands, and parted as friends. We are still friends and talk often. We actually still love each other to a certain extent. She and your mother get along and are friendly to each other. Whenever we go to Cincinnati, we have dinner with her and her husband. Did either of you ever cheat? I never did, and as far as I know, she didn't either, I replied. What would you have done if she had? There it was. The opening. Lauren was going to be toast, and I was going to be the toaster. I was going to tell him that there was never any excuse for cheating, but for some reason, I didn't say that. I was not Ty, and what was right for me might not necessarily be right for him and Madge. He was going to have to make that decision, not me. What happens if he forgives her this time and down the road someone else gives her the opportunities she had with Lafazzo? Will she cheat again? Once a cheater, always a cheater. That's what I had always heard. I have no idea. I guess at first I would have wanted to kill her, or him, or both. But I think I would have wanted to know why. What did I do or didn't do to cause it? Had there been some way I could have prevented it? Any number of questions would need to be answered. Would you have forgiven her? Ah, the $64,000 question. I can't answer that. I can only say that if she had cheated, and if I had found out about it, and if I forgave her, I would never, and I mean never, mention it again, because once you forgive someone, you can never bring that particular incident or event up again. That doesn't mean you have to forget it. Remember what Santayana said, "Those who cannot remember the past are condemned to repeat it." We sat in silence and sipped port for another half hour. Finally, I said, "It's been a long day. I'm going to bed." We said goodnight. Ty and Madge left for home Monday morning. After they left, Jenny and I talked a little about our concerns for his marriage, but generally just enjoyed being near each other. On Tuesday evening, Jenny received a call from Ty. It seemed Lauren had confessed that she had been having an affair with her boss for the past year or so. She asked his forgiveness and promised to never do it again. She suggested they go to counseling and work to get past her cheating for the sake of their marriage and Madge. Ty told her to pack up and move out, and she did. He had no intention of tolerating her cheating. Jenny came and clung to me sobbing. He did the right thing, didn't he, Pat? I think so. Nobody should have to live with a cheater. We sat, talked, held hands, and hugged. She went upstairs about an hour later. As soon as she was out of hearing range, I took out my phone. "Hello, Mrs. LaFazzo. You don't know me, but I have a couple of videos I think you should see." And so, we've reached the end of today's story. Was it what you expected, or did it take a twist you didn't see coming? I'm curious to hear your thoughts. Share them in the comments below, and let's get a conversation going. If this story kept you hooked, make sure to hit that like button. And if you're new here or just haven't subscribed yet, now's the perfect time to join our community. I bring you fresh, captivating stories every day, so click that subscribe button and turn on notifications so you never miss out. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.